God bless everybody today. It is December 6th of 2024. That's an interesting date in history. Maybe we ought to go back and look at that. So what's going on out here? It's actually pretty simple. And so I just want to sort of throw this down. This is going to be a short video because there's not a whole lot that needs to be explained here. It's playing out as I thought it would. And we're going to watch Turkey get ready to come into this equation approximately around the end of January, once Trump removes our troops, and then Erdogan will fill that vacuum shortly after January 20th of 2025. So what happened here, and why didn't anyone see this coming? Because you can go out and look at everybody out there and no one saw this one coming. Really? I've been telling you for months now this was going to happen. So what happened? This is pretty easy to understand. Everything in yellow is Kurdish regional groups. And then when you get into these two areas here, these are basically the Turkish-backed Free Syrian Armies, which you can see here, which are the groups that attacked. Then you have the Turkish-aligned areas, which are those two buffer areas that I talked about back in 2019 that Erdogan had set up. And so what happened? These groups under the control of Turkey decided that they were going to start to remove the Assad regime, okay, because Assad is a problem. And the other thing they're doing is they're getting ready to start to create a corridor to Lebanon, okay. Now, one other area that's not on here that I wish they would place on here is what they call Tartus, okay? Tartus is a port city over here that the Russians use, and so once they take Tartus, that cuts off the Russian ports. Russia's trying to figure out how to evacuate not only their people out of Syria, but what they're going to do with their naval force that's sitting down there. Probably going to have to move that more into the Mediterranean Sea to the west. So what will happen is these Free Syrian Turkish-backed armies are going to overtake this whole area here, and then they're going to try to drive down to Damascus. Now, I don't know how well this thrust from Homs to Damascus is going to go. I would guess it's going to go fairly well. I think Assad has fled to Iran and literally has fled his country at this point, so they probably don't even have a leader in this country. And then once they cut this off, we're going to see something interesting happen in the next month and a half to this buildup of these Turkish troops along this border, okay, for an invasion down into Syria and Lebanon through Turkey. And that's what you're going to see. So as these guys are starting to encompass this whole area, and this has been a shock and awe event. This has happened overnight. It took 4 years for our groups of people to control this area for it to all fall in basically 4 days. So that's pretty interesting. That this has happened so quickly and that no one saw it. And so think back in Israel. When Israel got attacked by Hamas, there was a total information failure. Okay, well, this was a total information failure on multiple levels because there's how many groups of people over here that are under duress constantly and they did not see this coming. And so it was just overnight sensation. And they're still on the move, and they're getting ready to take Homs. If they take Homs, they cut off everything here, okay? And then Turkey's got a clear path into Lebanon at the end of January. And I've been trying to explain to everybody, look, this happened back in 2016. Trump pulls our troops. You can go back. I've shown you articles about all this. Go back in October 6th of 2019, what happened? Trump pulls the troops out. 3 days later, Erdogan creates his 230-mile buffer zones on the Yom Kippur date. That was the same day that I built the 117-step chart. I've been doing this for years, guys. I've been trying to explain this to you for a while now. Okay? Then what did I say? You're going to see an Alexander the Great move happen. He's going to come out of Turkey down into this handle, and then he's going to invade Lebanon by March. Well, think about it. If he is at the end of January when he invades, or shortly after Trump comes in, and he's in Lebanon by March, if you go back in the history books of Alexander, Lebanon fell, Tyre, Lebanon fell at the end of July. And then he was in Gaza by October. He had taken over the whole Middle East in a year and absorbed Iran in 1 year, or about a year, year and a half, okay, which is about where we're at right now. I say that if you go to the paradigm, you look at my chart, Iran will fall as a nation around January of 26. I've been saying this for some time. This is not new on my charts. Now, I did have to do an expansion on the charts, and this is where the paradox I ran into a paradox. I had to figure out a couple things. I know it's in the strong generation of the Jews, so you have to look at the 80th year between May 14th, 1948 and May 14th of 2028, and that it would happen in the Shemitah cycle, because if you go back 2,000 years from the death of Jesus at 30 AD to 2030 AD, which will be the first day of the Feast of Trumpets as you go into the new calendar date on the prophetic calendar in the Jewish calendars, that first day of the Feast of Trumpets is actually a prophetic year of 2030. So you got your 2,000 year gap of time. So I know we're here. The question was, when you look at Psalm 90:10, you have to interpret how it's laid out. The Feast of Trumpets of 27 prior to the strong generational finish of May 14th of 2028? Or is it the Feast of Trumpets right after the strong generational finish of May 14th of 2028 going into that Feast of Trumpets of 28? Or do you have to complete the Shemitah cycle? And that's what my friend said. Work it out to the end. I'll guarantee you it's going to be right. And I figured that's where we would end up, because that seems to make more sense as you're completing this 2,000 year gap between 30 AD and 2030 AD as you finish to complete that completed date of going into 2030 happens on the Feast of Trumpets of 29, very first day. You go into the prophetic year of 2030 on their calendars, completing that 2,000 year gap or period of time. So I just want you to realize this was, it's like they were saying we couldn't fly planes into our building and nobody saw that coming. Really? It's like you didn't see the troops forming on the Ukrainian border and that they weren't going to invade after Putin told you for 20 years not to encroach on his areas and put labs in Ukraine so that it will affect his people. I'm just saying, it's just like Erdogan's been saying for 25 years now. He's going to rebuild the caliphate against the Jews and the Christians, and he's going to reform a new neo-Ottoman empire, which he's getting ready to do at the beginning of January, or at the end of January, whatever, going into February. And you just had the 100-year anniversary in November of last year, and he told you this was going to happen. My question is, are we not listening to these dictators? Because I'm pretty sure they're ideologically driven and they mean what they say. Putin says, don't do this or I'm going to invade. Erdogan says, don't do these things. Well, I'm going to do it anyway, but I'm going to rebuild the Neo-Ottoman Empire. Okay? This was really simple. Look, this is what's coming up. So now that they've absorbed all this area and they're getting ready to take Hama and the Homs, they're going to take Tartus over here. They're going to start driving down Damascus. Erdogan's going to start putting troops, massive concentration of troops on this border here. He already owns this area here and here. All the Kurds that were in this area are being pushed to the east towards Erbil for the Battle of Gaugamela. Once he finally gets back over there to deal with the Kurds, approximately October of 25, and then he's going to take Iran out in January of 2026 and then head back to Israel approximately around March February, March of 2026, and then you have a 6 seal event based on the charting. So this is where we're at, guys. It's here. You've got a few months left. Look, if this breaks out real hard and we see a massive attack between Israel and Iran, which is going to happen, and you start to exasperate that to the point where you start hitting nuclear and oil facilities, and then we just saw Iran come out and say they're basically not going to worry about how they're grading their nuclear matter, and they're just going to get ready to build a bomb at this point. They don't care anymore. You've got to understand where you are in time. Once they shut some of these areas down, and if you look at the area of the Middle East, this is what you really need to be concerned about, because this is going to take a little time to radiate over here. Turkey's going to get into this game that's going to shut down major portions of the Black Sea and Mediterranean Sea. Russia's going to get pushed out. Iran, which is aligned with Russia and Assad, are going to take massive damage. Assad's regime's going to fall. Assad has already fled to Iran. The Kurds, which had occupied some of these regional areas around here, are all collapsing towards the east, which is prophetic. And you're going to watch, look, when they start shutting all these shipping lanes down around the Mediterranean, Black Sea, Strait of Hormuz, Red Sea, and then the other thing, well, that will cause oil to then spike. But the other thing I was just thinking about is, there's a lot of these Arab areas over here too that are being impacted. And that's what happened in the past during the 1967 and 73 war, was the Arab nations also got into this matter. And that's what led to your 1973 oil embargo. So you have to watch OPEC. OPEC's trying to make a decision on output right now, as they're trying to figure out whether they can shut the Iranian oil spigot off. Okay, so there you go. You got the OPEC and the Saudis in this room too, or how they're going to functionally keep the price of oil in a condition that actually makes them decent money, at least in their eyes. And so a lot happening, guys, out here. This is going to break, and I told you it was going to break, and now we're here. And so you've got a few months to get ready for this. Still, it's going to take a little time, but once, I guess what I'm trying to get back to the fuel is, once that breaks and you see those oil prices spike, you see an oil embargo come against the United States and Israel or any of their partners, that will then start an embargo on the United States. We don't have the refinery capacity here, or actually anything in the strategic reserve, which isn't refined anyway, and that's then going to cause all kinds of issues on the ground here, because people aren't going to have fuel for their vehicles. That's going to shut your economy down, and then you're going to see oil spike, fuel spike in price at the pump. And if you go back in 1973, once the Saudis or the Arabs in general put an embargo on us, fuel or oil barrels spiked up 4 times, 3 to 4 times what they are now. So you've got oil at 75, $80 a barrel right now. You 4x it up, you're over $300 a barrel. Think what the price of the pump's going to be. So just realize what's going on out here. God bless. Have a great day. Be safe. Find the Lord Jesus.